Okay, welcome back. We're ready to finish Macbeth. In Act 5, we are in Dunsinane Castle, which is Macbeth's castle, and we see a doctor and a waiting lady, one of the Queen's attendants, Lady Macbeth's attendants. And the doctor says, "I have 2 nights watched with you, but can perceive no truth in your report. When was it she last walked?" She's been sleepwalking, and she does strange things when she sleepwalks. And so one of her attending ladies has called the doctor in, but the doctor so far hasn't seen it happen. She says, "Since His Majesty went into the field, I have seen her rise from her bed, throw her nightgown upon her, unlock her closet, take forth paper, fold it, write upon it, read it, afterwards seal it, and again return to bed, yet all this while in a most fast sleep." The doctor says, "A great perturbation in nature, to receive at once the benefit of sleep and do the effects of watching. In this slumbery agitation, besides her walking and her other actual performances, what at any time have you heard her say?" She says, "That, sir, which I will not repeat after her." "You may to me, and 'tis most meet you should." "Neither to you nor anyone, having no witness to confirm my speech." What do you think Lady Macbeth has been saying that the serving lady doesn't want to repeat? Murder. And Lady Macbeth comes in, holding a candle. "Lo, you, here she comes. This is her very guise, and upon my life, fast asleep. Observe her, stand close." The doctor says, "How came she by that light?" "Why, it stood by her. She has light by her continually. 'Tis her command." "You see her eyes are open." "Aye, but their sense is shut." "What is it she does now? Look how she rubs her hands." "It is an accustomed action with her, to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her to continue in this 1/4 of an hour." She's like this. "Oh, yet here's a spot," she says. "Hark, she speaks. I will set down what comes from her, to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly." "Out, damned spot, out, I say. 1, 2, why then 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and afeard? What need we fear who knows it, when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him?" The doctor says, "Do you mark that?" Lady Macbeth continues, "The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What, will these hands ne'er be clean? No more of that, my lord, no more of that. You mar all with this starting." The doctor says to the serving lady, "Go to, go to. You have known what you should not." He realizes she's confessing to the murder of Duncan. And she says, "She has spoke what she should not, I'm sure of that. Heaven knows what she has known." Lady Macbeth goes on, "Here's the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, oh, oh." What a sigh is there. The heart is sorely charged. "I would not have such a heart in my bosom for the dignity of the whole body." Well, well, well. Pray God it be, sir. "This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I have known those which have walked in their sleep, who have died holily in their beds." Lady Macbeth goes on, "Wash your hands, put on your nightgown, look not so pale. I tell you yet again, Banquo's buried, he cannot come out in his grave." Oh, now she just confessed they engineered Banquo's death. The doctor says, "Even so?" To bed, there's knocking at the gate. Come, 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 give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed." And she walks away. The doctor asks, "Will she go now to bed?" "Directly." Foul whisperings are abroad. Unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. Infected minds to their deaf pillows will discharge their secrets. More needs she the divine than the physician. She needs a pastor more than she needs a doctor. God forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance. Take away from her anything she could use to harm herself. and still keep eyes upon her. So good night. My mind she has mated and amazed my sight. I think, but dare not speak. And the serving woman says, good night, good doctor. So they know. And Lady Macbeth has become deranged from what she's done. Do you remember after they did it, Macbeth said, oh, look at my hands are all bloody. And he said, well, will all the oceans ever wash my hand? And he said, no, instead of the oceans washing my hand, my red hands will turn the ocean red. And Lady Macbeth comes in and she says, a little water clears us of this deed. Go rinse your hands and it's all fine. This has come back to haunt her, hasn't it? She's rubbing her hands and she can't get her hands clean. Okay, in scene 2, we're in the countryside near the castle, and we have a bunch of Scottish lords and soldiers. The English power is near, led on by Malcolm, his uncle Seaward, and the good Macduff. Revenge burn in them, for their dear causes would to the bleeding and the grim alarm excite the mortified man. Near Birnam Wood shall we meet them? That way they are coming. Who knows if Donalbain be with his brother? For certain, sir, he is not. I have a file of all the gentry. There is Seaward's son, and many unrough youths, that even now protest their first of manhood. What does the tyrant? Great Dunsinane he strongly fortifies. Some say he's mad. Others, that lesser hate him, do call it valiant fury. But for certain, he cannot buckle his distempered cause within the belt of rule. He has outstripped the limits of kinghood, and he cannot claim he is fighting for his justly held throne. This is not within the belt of rule. Nor now does he feel his secret murders sticking on his hands. How minutely how minutely revolts upbraid his faith breach. Those he commands move only in command, nothing in love. Listen to that. Those he commands move only in command, nothing in love. Everyone on his side, they just obey him from force. He has no one truly on his side. No one obeys him from love. Now does he feel his title hang loose upon him, like a giant's robe upon a dwarfish thief. Who then shall blame his pestered senses to recoil and start, when all that is within him does condemn itself for being there? Who would blame him for going crazy when everything inside him, all his thoughts, all his actions bottled up inside him, condemn him for the fact that they're inside him? Well, march we on, to give obedience where 'tis truly owed. Meet we the medicine of the sickly weal, and with him pour we in our country's purge each drop of us. Or so much as it needs to dew the sovereign flower and drown the weeds. Make we our march toward Birnam. All right. They are willing to pour out their lives if that's the medicine that Scotland needs. Now we go back inside the castle, and we see Macbeth, the doctor, and their various attendants. Macbeth says, bring me no more reports. Let them fly all. Till Birnam Wood remove to Dunsinane, I cannot taint with fear. What's the boy Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. Fear not, Macbeth. No man that's born of woman shall e'er have power upon thee. Then fly, false thanes, and mingle with the English epicures. The mind I sway by and the heart I bear shall never sag with doubt nor shake with fear. His attendants and his other underlings have been bringing him bad reports of the massed armies against him. Like, what do I care? Till the forest marches to my castle, nothing bad's going to happen. And I can't be harmed by anyone not born of woman. A servant comes in, he thinks, with another report. He says, the devil damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon. He's pale, cream-faced, okay? He's pale because he just saw something that's made him go pale. Where godst thou that goose look? There's 10,000 geese, villain. Soldiers, sir. Go prick thy face and overread thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. What soldiers, Patch? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counselors to fear. What soldiers, wayface? The English force, so please you. Take thy face hence. Satan! Satan is another one of his servants. I am sick at heart when I behold Satan, I say. This push will cheer me ever or deceit me now. I've lived long enough. My way of life is fallen into the sear, the yellow leaf, and that which should accompany old age, as honor, love, obedience, troops of friends, I must not look to have, but in their stead curses, not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not. Satan! He comes in. What's your gracious pleasure? What news more? All is confirmed, my lord, which was reported. I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armor. 'Tis not needed yet. I'll put it on. Send out more horses, scur the country round. Hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armor. How does your patient, doctor? Okay, so all this time the doctor's been standing there. He's been ignoring him. But, of course, the doctor's patient is Lady Macbeth. He asks, how does your patient, doctor? Not so sick, my lord, as she is troubled with thick-coming fancies that keep her from her rest. Cure her of that. Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased? Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart? Don't you have medicine that can cure the mind and the heart? The doctor says, therein the patient must minister to himself. Throw physic to the dogs. I'll none of it. Come, put mine armor on. Give me my staff. Satan, send out. Doctor, the thanes fly from me. Come, sir, dispatch. If thou couldst, doctor, cast the water of my land, find her disease, and purge it to a sound and pristine health, I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again. Pull it off, I say. What rhubarb, senna, or what purgative drug would scour these English hints? I wish, doctor, that you could doctor my country, that you could, just like we purge a body of evils, evil humors, of bad food, wish you could purge it of these English. He says to him, hearest thou of them? The doctor says, aye, my good lord. Your royal preparation makes us hear something. Well, I've heard you're amassing troops. I kind of got the idea of what's going on. Bring it after me. He's talking about a piece of his armor. I will not be afraid of death and bane till Burnham Forest come to Dunsinane. And the doctor mutters under his breath, were I from Dunsinane away and clear, profit again should hardly draw me here. If I get out of this place, I am not coming back no matter how much they pay me. All right, now we go out to the troops that are amassed around the castle down there by the edge of Burnham Wood. We have Malcolm, Seaward, the guy he has brought from England. Macduff is with him. And Malcolm says, cousins, I hope the days are near at hand that Chambers will be safe. We doubt it nothing. Seaward says, what wood is this before us? The wood of Burnham. And Malcolm has an idea. He says, let every soldier hew him down a bough and bear it before him. Everybody cut off a branch and hold it in front of him. Thereby we shall shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery air in report of us. We will disguise how many we are by all of us kind of being shielded by these branches. It shall be done. Seaward says, we learn no other, but the confident tyrant keeps still in Dunsinane and will endure our setting down before it. Looks like he's just going to wait for a siege. 'Tis his main hope, for where there is advantage to be given, both more and less have given him the revolt, and none serve with him but constrained things whose hearts are absent too. Everybody's already bailed on him. He's got no choice because he really has nobody to fight for him, because everybody keeps revolting and coming over to our side. Macduff says, let our just censures attend the true event, and put we on industrious soldiership. Seaward says, The time approaches that will with due decision make us know what we shall say we have and what we owe. Thoughts speculative their unsure hopes relate, but certain issues strokes must arbitrate, towards which advance the war. All right? He said, sometimes you can talk things out, but certain issues strokes must arbitrate. We're going to have to fight for it. Okay. Now we see what's going on inside the castle again. Macbeth is there with his servants, Satan and the soldiers. Macbeth says, "Hang out your banners on the outward walls. The cry is still, 'They come!' Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here let them lie till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not forced with those that should be ours, we might have met them dareful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home. Were they not forced with those that should be ours, had their forces not been swelled by people who revolted from us and went over to them, we could face them in the field." Suddenly he hears women crying inside the castle, yelling. What is that noise? Satan says, "It is the cry of women, my good lord." He says, "I have almost forgot the taste of fears. The time has been, my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, and my fell of hair would at a dismal treatise rouse and stir as life were in it. Once upon a time, if I heard women suddenly screaming and howling in the night, and I didn't know what was going on, it'd make my hair stand on end. It would creep me out. I have supped full with horrors. Direness, familiar to my slaughterous thoughts, cannot once start me. I've seen things and done things so wicked, so awful. Nothing scares me now." Satan comes back in. He's been to check on why the women were crying, and he says, Macbeth asks him, "Wherefore was that cry?" "The queen, my lord, is dead." Macbeth says, "She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." That's what life is now to Macbeth. It's a brief candle, a walking shadow, a poor player, an actor that struts his part on the stage and then walks off because his part's done. It is a tale told by an idiot. This is his reaction to the fact that his wife just died. A messenger comes in. "Thou comest to use thy tongue, thy story quickly." The messenger says, "Gracious my lord, I should report that which I say I saw, but know not how to do it." "Well, say, sir." "As I did stand upon my watch upon the hill, I looked toward Burnham, and anon methought the wood began to move." It's all those soldiers with their branches. Burnham Wood is marching to Dunsinane. He says, "Liar and slave! Let me endure your wrath if it be not so. Within this 3 mile may you see it coming. I say a moving grove." Macbeth says, "If thou speaks false, upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive, till famine cling thee. If thy speech be sooth, I care not if thou dost for me as much. If you're telling a lie, I'm going to hang you on a tree till you starve to death. And if you're telling the truth, I don't care if you do it to me, because it's all up. I pull in resolution and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Fear not, till Burnham Wood do come to Dunsinane, and now a wood comes in toward Dunsinane." He says, I begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend. Equivocation is saying one thing but really meaning another. And the fiend, Satan, through those witches, he fears have told him something true to lead him on in sounding like it would be something false. Arm, arm, and out! If this which he avouches does appear, there is nor flying hence nor tarrying here. If he's telling the truth, it's all up. What can I do? If I stay here, I'm a goner. If I leave, I'm a goner. I begin to be aweary of the sun, and wish the estate of the world were now undone. Ring the alarm bell! Blow, wind! Come, rack! At least we'll die with harness on our back. Right. Now we're out in the field in front of the castle, with Malcolm and Macduff and Seaward. Malcolm says, now, near enough. Your levy screens throw down, and show like those you are. You, worthy uncle, shall with my cousin, your right noble son, lead our first battle. Worthy Macduff and we shall take upon us what else remains to do, according to our order. Fare you well. Do we but find the tyrant's power tonight, let us be beaten if we cannot fight. Macduff says, make all our trumpets speak, give them all breath, those clamorous harbingers of blood and death. All right, Macbeth has, armed himself, and he's now out in the field. He might as well go out and fight for it, because he's finding out that he's been told some lies, at least one lie. Well, he wasn't told a lie. He said it wouldn't be conquered until Burnham would come to Dunsinane. He just assumed it never would. Okay, so Macbeth comes in, and he says, they've tied me to a stake. I cannot fly, but bear-like I must fight the course. What's he that was not born of woman? Such a one am I to fear or none. He's still holding on to the promises of the witches, the prophecies. The Burnham Wood thing, that turned out to be misleading. But he's still holding on to the no one born of woman can harm Macbeth. Young Seaward comes in. This is Seaward, the commander's son. And he says, what is thy name? Macbeth says, thou'lt be afraid to hear it. Young Seaward says, no, though thou callest thyself a hotter name than any is in hell. He says, my name's Macbeth. Young Seaward says, the devil himself could not pronounce a title more hateful to mine ear. Macbeth says, no, nor more fearful. Young Seaward says, thou liest, abhorred tyrant. With my sword I'll prove the lie thou speakst. They fight, and Macbeth kills young Seaward. And he says, thou wast born of woman. But swords I smile at, weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by man that's of a woman born. All right. Then next in comes Macduff. And he hears trumpets sounding in the battlefield. And he says, that way the noise is. Tyrant, show thy face. If thou beest slain with no stroke of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me still. I want to be the one to kill you. You killed my family. I cannot strike at wretched kerns whose arms are hired to bear their staves. Either thou, Macbeth, or else my sword, with an unbattered edge, I sheathe again undeeded. I'm not going to mess with any of the other soldiers fighting for Macbeth. I'm not going to kill anyone else. I want Macbeth. There thou shouldst be, by this great clatter. One of greatest note seems brooded. Let me find him, fortune, and more I beg not. All right, and he wanders off, looking for Macbeth. Malcolm and old Seaward come in. This way, my lord. The castle's gently rendered. The castle's been surrendered. The people in the castle have surrendered. The tyrant's people on both sides do fight. The noble thanes do bravely in the war. The day almost itself professes yours, and little more to do. Malcolm says, we have met with foes that strike beside us. We've met foes, we've met enemies that just come over and start fighting on our side when they find out how well we're doing. Seaward says, enter, sir, the castle. The castle is yours. You've taken it. Macbeth is still ranging the field, though. And he says, why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword? Whiles I see lives, the gashes do better upon them. I could kill myself like some Roman, like Brutus or Cassius at the battle with Mark Antony and Augustus, but I'm not going to. Because if anybody else is alive, I'd rather see sword gashes on them than on myself. And in comes Macduff. And he says, turn, Hellhound, turn. Macbeth says, of all men else I have avoided thee. But get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already. I've been avoiding you, Macduff. Not because I'm afraid of you, but because I've already killed enough members of your family. Macduff says, I have no words. My voice is in my sword, thou bloodier villain than terms can give thee out. Macbeth says, thou losest labor. As easy mayst thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born. Macduff says, despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee. Macduff was from his mother's womb, untimely ripped. Macduff wasn't born, technically, of a woman. Macduff was born by C-section, so he wasn't actually born. Macbeth says, accursed be that tongue that tells me so, for it hath cowed my better part of man. And be these juggling fiends no more believed, that palter with us in a double sense, that keep the word of promise to our ear, and break it to our hope. It finally dawns on him, those witches set me up completely. Everything they told me was to set me up. He says, I'll not fight with thee. Macduff says, then yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee, as our rarer monsters are, painted upon a pole, and under writ, here you may see the tyrant. We'll put you on display like a circus animal. I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, and to be baited with the rabble's curse. Though Burnham would be come to Dunsinane, and thou opposed, being of no woman born, yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, hold, enough! All right, and they move off the stage, fighting. Okay, enter, there's trumpet sounds, there's drums. Malcolm and old Seaward and all the other lords march in. And Malcolm says, I would the friends we miss were safe arrived. We're not all here, and I hope everybody who's missing isn't dead on the field somewhere. I hope they arrive soon. Seaward says, some must go off. There are going to be casualties. And yet by these I see so great a day as this is cheaply bought. Macduff is missing, and your noble son. Ross says, your son, my lord, has paid a soldier's debt. He only lived but till he was a man, the which no sooner had his prowess confirmed in the unshrinking station where he fought, but like a man he died. Seaward says, then he is dead? Ross says, aye, and brought off the field. Your cause of sorrow must not be measured by his worth, for then it hath no end. Seaward said, had he his hurts before? In other words, was he wounded in the front, or was he wounded in the back? Because if he was wounded in the back, he was running away. But if he was wounded in the front, he stood and he fought as long as he could. Ross says, aye, on the front. Seaward says, why then, God's soldier be he. Had I as many sons as I have hairs, I would not wish them to a fairer death. And so his knell is knolled. Malcolm says, he's worth more sorrow, and that I'll spend for him. We will mourn your son more, because he's worth much more at a later time when all this is over. Seaward says, he's worth no more. They say he parted well and paid his score, and so God be with him. Here comes newer comfort, and in walks Macduff with Macbeth's head, a head that was just in armor. Remember the first vision that came out of the cauldron. An armed head. Only a head. And the witches said, he knows thy thought. Who knows your thought? Yourself. The armed head was Macbeth. And Macbeth didn't realize this was a prophecy of his own head being lopped off. Macduff says, hail, king, for so thou art. Behold, where stands the usurper's cursed head. The time is free. I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl, that speak my salutation in their minds, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. Hail, King of Scotland! And they all shout, hail, King of Scotland! Malcolm says, We shall not spend a large expense of time before we reckon with your several loves and make us even with you. It's not going to be long before I repay you for all you've done for me. My thanes and kinsmen henceforth be earls, the first that ever Scotland in such an honour named. What's more to do, which would be planted newly with the time, as calling home our exiled friends abroad that fled the snares of watchful tyranny, producing forth the cruel ministers of this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands took off her life. This, and what needful else that calls upon us, by the grace of grace we will perform in measure, time and place. So thanks to all at once and to each one, whom we invite to see us crowned at Scone. And they leave. Everything is back to normal in Scotland. The evil has been purged, and Malcolm has come to the throne.